One of the most fascinating objects in the night sky are stars. I'm sure at some point in our lives, each of us have gazed upward and we have been mesmerized by these mysterious little candles scattered across the night sky. And then we discover one of these candles, our sun, is not just shining for itself, but it is actually the very reason life exists on our planet, on Earth. Isn't that amazing? Today, in this Power Boost, let's look a little deeper into these self-illuminating objects and let's try to reflect what can we learn from them for our own lives. Now, science explains this beautifully. At the core of a star is mainly hydrogen. And inside the core, inside the star, there's an incredible balancing act that is taking place. So on one side, there is this gravitational pull, constantly pulling the star inwards. On the other hand, there is this immense amount of energy that is being released as these hydrogen atoms fuse into each other to form, for example, helium, and sometimes even other heavier elements. And this delicate balance is exactly what allows the star to shine steadily for millions and sometimes even over billions of years. But then something interesting happens. In some stars, this process can continue and come to a point where it starts to produce very heavy elements, where such as elements like iron start to dominate the core. Now here's the catch. Unlike hydrogen, iron cannot release energy in this whole process of fusion. And without the fuel, without the hydrogen, gravity takes over. Gravity wins. The star begins to collapse under its own weight, and in extreme cases, it collapses to a black hole. It collapses so powerfully and forms a place from which even light struggles to escape. Now let's pause here for a moment. What if we see this beyond physics as well? Think about it. Aren't our virtues and strengths like the hydrogen fuel of our lives? The more we cooperate, the more content I feel. The more love I share, the more blessings I get in return. Now, just as stars shine because of hydrogen, we shine because of our virtues. Our virtues of peace, of happiness, virtue of love, virtue of purity. But sometimes life brings us into this iron phase. A challenge arrives. Sometimes fatigue sets in. And we feel drained. We wonder, how shall I respond? Why does everything feel so heavy? That heaviness is like the iron core of the star. The gravity of anger pulls us down. The gravity of ego drags us inward. The gravity of greed consumes us. And slowly, our inner star begins to dim. Hope, joy, and meaning feel like distant characteristics. But what if there was a way to rekindle the light? What if we could refuel our inner star from the inside? Raj Yoga meditation, taught by the Brahma Kumaris, gives us that method. It's like beginning a reverse journey. Instead of letting the iron weigh us down, we can choose, we can consciously reconnect with our original hydrogen, our true virtues. Through meditation, I could take a step back. We could step within and reflect on the thought, who am I? I am a being of happiness. I am a being of peace. I am this tiny star which is innately loveful. And just creating this simple thoughts, this simple act begins to unpack the iron. Bit by bit, piece by piece, until this heaviness gives way to lightness. From darkness, we can rekindle our inner glow. Let's take an example, a simple but a powerful one. Imagine you've had a very long day at work, emails overflowing, deadlines pressing, and amidst all of that, someone criticizes our efforts. Immediately, we feel the pull. Gravity starts to come into the picture, right? Irritation rises. Our heart feels heavy. And our mind just keeps replaying those words, those experiences. This heaviness is like the iron core. And just as iron stops the star from glowing, from shining, anger, hurt, ego begins to drain our light. We become reactive, we become restless, and our natural joy, our natural state of contentment feels blocked. But now imagine we take a pause. Instead of letting those feelings crush us, maybe we step outside for 2 minutes, or simply close our eyes while sitting at our desks. And we remind ourselves of our true nature, of our virtues, of our innate qualities. And we reflect on the thought that I am this invisible experiencer. I am this being of light. I am innately peaceful, and my peace is not dependent on anyone else's opinion. I consciously choose to shine no matter what. And in this very moment, in this space of sweet silence, the experience begins to shift. The gravity of anger loses its grip. We feel lighter. And we come to a state where we could respond with calmness and not necessarily immediately react to what's coming in. So, in this way, we could take this as a spiritual equivalent of bringing the hydrogen back into our core. And just as hydrogen keeps a star shining, our virtues, our virtue of peace, of cooperation, of patience, of love, fuel our light. And just as a star needs constant fusion to keep glowing, we too need to keep focusing into our virtues. We too need to keep fusing these virtues into actions throughout the day. And we can do this by picking up small acts of kindness, small acts of patience and love. So whenever life feels heavy, whenever we feel the iron phrase approaching, we could take it as a signal. And maybe it's time to refuel. It's time to reconnect with our original nature. Let's take a few moments and experience this. Sit comfortably, allow your body to relax, and let the breathing slow down. As I become aware of the different noises, events, temperature around me, gently I begin to turn my attention inwards. I begin to create and reflect on the thought that I am this invisible being of light. I am this tiny star. Peace, happiness, love, these are my original virtues. This is my original fuel. And in this space, I begin to experience that the heaviness of anger, ego, and worry begins to dissolve. Bit by bit, the iron melts away. My inner star begins to shine again. I radiate light. I radiate peace. I radiate love. For a few moments, I simply rest in this experience shining, glowing, weightless, and free. And as I prepare to bring this light with me into the day, into all my interactions, into every role, I carry the warmth of my virtues wherever I go. We too have the potential to shine, to sustain, and to give light. We can either allow the negativity of iron to weigh us down, or we could reconnect to our original hydrogen, our virtues, and to the Supreme Source. Even though we cannot change the fate of a star in the sky, we can shape our own destiny. And every pause, every meditation is a chance to rekindle my inner star, ready once again to shine bright and spread the light. Thank you for joining today's Power Boost.